KG5EIU. Going to show you how to use the Icom remote utility and the new Icom 7300 Mark II on your local network. First, let's look at the 7300 and some settings that you have to do down here in this window here. If you pull up your menu, you obviously need to get the network address. Here I have it set to DHCP. That's my address of the 7300 Mark II radio. And the other thing you want to set up are remote settings. You want to turn on network control. These ports, the UDP ports, are the default ports. And then you want to set up network user 1. And I'm just using my call sign. And you put a password in there. I'm just using my last name. And set your network administrator to yes. And that's really all you got to do on the radio. The other thing you want to check on the radio side to use the remote software are under connectors, mod input. You want to make sure that the data mod, if you're going to run WSJT-X on the computer, you want to set that to LAN. You have a couple of choices there. The one you want is LAN for data mod when you're using the RS-BA1 software. Okay, so now that the radio is set up, you have to set up the Icom remote utility. There's two pieces to this. There's the remote control software, which emulates and looks kind of like the Icom 7300 Mark II, and then there's the remote utility. It's the remote utility that connects everything together across the network from your remote computer. So we're in the remote computer here. It's Windows 11, 64-bit. And what you do is you start out and you first define your radio. And I have you set up the radio here. You can look at the properties. You're going to give it a name. There's the IP address. There's that UDP port number. And then this is the user ID and password that you set down here in the radio. And after that's set up, you connect up to it. And then from there you have a radio list. And the radio list, you can pull up the settings here. Pretty much all the default here, except you need to select a COM port. This is the virtual COM port that WSJT-X is going to use for cat control. I have it here set to COM14. And you can pick from the list and open one. You don't want to use one that's you're already using, so I picked a high one, 14. Once that's done, you want to ensure that you click the mod button here. You want to double check that it says V audio. Sometimes I think the default might set it to mic, but you want V audio. And set this to 0 dB for best results that I found. So once that's all connected up, once that's all set and connected up, you go ahead and connect up and you launch WSJT-X. And what you need to do now is configure WSJT-X to talk to all the virtual ports that the Icom remote utility has set up for you. So let's take a look at WSJT-X. We'll go down here to settings. I've already set this up. But the important parts are I got to select the 7300. They don't have, from the drop-down list, they don't have the new Mark II yet set up here in the hamlib library. And down here, it's Christmas Eve 2025, and I'm using the hamlib that was updated from 12/13/2025. So it's not quite there yet. So we got to use the 7300. And that means, I probably should have told you this before, but in the menu settings, you can set your CIV under connectors, I believe it is. Yeah, CIV here, connectors, 94H. 94H is the default for a 7300. So back to WSJT-X, we set up the radio, COM14, 19.2, you can see over here where I'm getting these values from. There's 19.2, there's the CIV address, and there's the virtual COM port number that we selected over here in the software. That matches this port here, and I'm doing 19.2. And 8 none 1, all this other stuff, and then you want to select cat and the data packet, and I'm running no split, and you can hit test cat and it should come back green. Now if you can hit test PTT, you'll see over here when I hit test PTT, it'll briefly turn on, it'll key the radio. And you can see that there. So we're good to go here on this. The next thing you need to do is select your audio. These right here, this Icom Virtual Audio, Icom Virtual Audio 3 is what you want to select. From the drop-down list, you'll see it, and you want to match that up with what it's set up to over here. It'll be different if you have a couple different Icom rigs. It'll be a little different. And then after that, really inside of, you can set up your reporting here. I've got a computer across the network where my logger's running, so I'm sending my logs over there to it. But this is the remote computer. So after that, we're connected up to the network, and you can see that we're decoding over here just fine. We're up here on 20 meters, and we'll try a connection here. AE6CH. And you can see when I double-clicked him in the band activity window, transmitter started right up. This window here is, I have the new Mark II 7300 has a HDMI port on it, and in that port I have a remote KVM, the GLK PoE KVM, the RM1PE, and that's how I'm seeing the display in a browser across the network. There's a lot of traffic here. He's got a couple of conversations going on. He did hear me, so we'll go ahead and get him. Everything looks good here. We'll click OK, and we'll let the QSO finish. And so, in summary, setting up the new Icom remote utility, you do need to update it. It's version 2.80. For the utility, and this version here is 2.25, and it's just that easy to get RS-BA1 remote operations on a Windows machine talking to the new Icom 7300 Mark II. 7.3 from KG5 EIU.